Happy Thursday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, January 11th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? First cards, we're starting off with 2 today. Oh boy. Okay, I'm not surprised to see this. Let's discuss masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency. What did we see was occurring yesterday around masculine energy? I kept seeing that this identification of ships coming in, right? Whatever this work was, whatever this delay that was happening from where masculine set their intentions prior to the start of the Mercury retrograde, we're coming out of that shadow period. Things are starting now to pick back up. But even now we are identifying that for the masculine energy in this modality right now, something about the need to be clear, something about the need of refinement is coming to the forefront. I need to stress right now, masculine energy, not letting this be a moment of shaking your confidence. I have to stress here, this is feeling a lot like this moment and modality of the difference between something moving in your favor versus something not moving at the speed that one would aspire and desire to, but still feeling like it is moving in your favor. We are seeing here that there's something right now about masculine getting some observation point, seeing something that is picking back up right now. And it's not requiring a moment of potentially losing hope or aspiration that something can move in your favor. It is getting clarity right now on what the holdup might be. Having that point of observation, having that point of clarity, having that point of discernment right now is helping to amplify to masculine when this becomes a moment of looking at something that needs to be moved away from versus what requires some point of fine tuning. The energy right now in divine union frequency, it feels a lot like that fine tuning is coming into play and practice. What we want to make sure that is not happening right now is for masculine coming into that point of needing to fine tune something doesn't result and require you to come into a point of potentially just losing and getting frustrated, because what has been the journey of masculine right now in the divine union frequency? Patience in emotional expression. Patience in feeling something and not letting it create a reactivity point, but just holding space for whatever that feeling is. So even now, masculine being able to hold space in this way is a part of the healing work, but it feels icky. It feels frustrating. It's making you doubt your own self because it's like, again, picking up something and not having it go exactly the way you want, but almost not letting yourself give up on it, just taking a different tactic, taking a different approach. Masculine and feminine in divine union, the feminine energy seeing masculine in this modality right now. This could be feeling, to a certain extent, this need or desire of experiencing a masculine that's in this modality right now. But again, for feminine as well, one of the things that we see is somewhat problematic is what the masculine is giving to feminine in terms of giving feminine energy some points of approach, some tips, some guidance. The problem, and this is what could create right now a little bit of frustration, even for the energies in divine union, this has been coming through for the last few days, is feminine trying to amplify to masculine that masculine's approach, while it might work very well for the masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is feminine that doesn't just want to be in a modality of doing what the masculine suggests, because this is feminine that recognizes and realizes that they're trying to alchemize something. They're trying to put their own spin on something. They're trying to find the best way forward for them. Because this is, again, a moment of energy of masculine and feminine realizing that moving in this modality of co-creating things requires, to a certain extent, it's not just one energy following in lockstep to what the other energy does. It is that point of guidance that's almost amplifying. The feminine is going through something right now that doesn't feel like masculine can just kind of provide that solution, provide that outcome. There's not a clear answer here. We see that a lot of the work that feminine is doing right now has to do with a lot of internal journeying right now to figure out what feels like it is best for them, what is going to be best for them, but via V, also keeping a lot of attention on the divine union in the process. This is feminine almost, again, making choices while also thinking about the energy that they are in connection with, but trying to delineate what the blockage is internally that they feel that they need to clear. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is feminine recognizing masculine's own ability to effectively put the caring, effort, and concentration into the divine union. One of the things that we've been seeing for the energy coming into the divine union frequency right now is that feminine may have opened up in a way that shook masculine energy's own confidence to a certain degree. Because again, this moment of recognition, this ability to kind of continue to see new facets, new aspects of each other, isn't something that needs to be shied away from. It is something that should be celebrated and embraced to a certain extent. But even here, we see that this is a feminine energy that's almost potentially expressing to masculine the fears and anxieties coming to the surface in terms of opening up and feeling that anxiety, that's something that they may reveal to the masculine that may cause the masculine to pull away from the feminine. This is why we see that for the energies right now that are continuing forward in divine union, this is potentially a masculine energy that's articulating to feminine in some way, shape, or form, saying to them effectively, there is nothing that you can tell me about yourself that is going to lead me to pull away. There is nothing here that is going to make me want to move away from this divine union. If anything, this is a masculine energy, again, on that journey of healing, coming into divine union, almost saying to the feminine, if there is something that you say to me that shakes my confidence, then that is something that I need to put care, effort, energy, and attention into. And that is something that we will discuss, and that is something that we will move through, because that is a moment of seeing something that feels like a problem. And instead of allowing that problem to create a separation point, that's almost a moment that masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now recognize and almost celebrate when they hit those difficulties, because that is now showing the masculine and feminine where they need to put their time, effort, and attention moving forward. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see this is why there is that separation point, because what are we effectively saying? We are seeing that a feminine is trying to identify to masculine that something about the way the masculine moves, even especially if this is a masculine that is saying in some words that they want to be with feminine. This is almost feminine saying words are not enough. It's not enough to say what you want to manifest. You need to move in that same vibration. You need to make sure that there's that alignment. And this is why we see that a lot of these difficult conversations are happening right now, because this is feminine trying to say to masculine, I'm not saying these things to you to create conflict. I'm not saying this to you from a place of needing you to change. I'm saying this so that you can get clarity, to make sure that your words are accurate to what I'm seeing. This is not a feminine energy that's even saying to masculine, you have to change the way you're moving. This is a feminine energy that says you can move whatever way you want, but your words, they need to stay in harmony with how you're moving. Masculine, you may be seeing this right now in the part of a feminine if in separation. And it may feel like it's difficult, masculine, because again, this is feeling like a block in the throat chakra. This is feeling like the feminine is asking you to pull something out of your heart space, let it come out of the throat chakra, but it is that fear, that anxiety of how it will be received, that almost feels right now like it's getting stuck, like right somewhere here. That's why we see that for a lot of masculine energy right now, there's a fear or anxiety about saying the wrong thing, recognizing that this is a feminine energy that's almost saying the only wrong thing you can say is something that doesn't feel true. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is the only thing that you can say that's wrong is something that is not true, because this is feminine energy that's looking for masculine energy that maintains a point of stability. Recognizing stability is not something that you can externalize. Stability isn't something that you can just create in your hand. Stability is something that you embody. How are we stable? How do we what is the best way to identify an energy that is stable? Regardless of what modality it is, effectively for feminine, stability right now is being interpreted as a masculine whose words are in alignment with their movements. Whatever those movements are, as long as there's an alignment between the words and the movement and the action, this is a feminine that feels like there's a masculine that's providing stability, because the masculine is putting words to what the feminine can expect and anticipate from the masculine, in whatever shape that is, in whatever form that takes, so long as the masculine stays in value. The value of the words match the movement of the masculine. This is feminine saying that is what stability is. And we see that for a lot of the masculine energy and separation right now, this modality, this moment is being amplified not only right now potentially from some feminine energy and separation that may be asking for this right now. Masculine, much like yesterday, we see that you may be moving right now towards other masculine to get some insight, to get some advice. But what we appreciate for a lot of the masculine energy and separation right now, and we saw this yesterday, it's not the fact that you might be moving towards some masculine energy for advice. You're putting some mindfulness in who you're moving towards for that advice. Is the energy that you're moving towards right now in a modality that you would effectively aspire for? Is that a masculine that is embodying what you hope to see in your own life right now? Or is this an energy that may have been giving you something? Because we saw for a lot of masculine energy like now, this removal of the script, this recognizing that to you, there's something that you are recognizing is an internal hurdle wherein you feel like something that you were told was the way you should be or the way you ought to move now feels like it is incorrect from what the feminine is telling you that they desire. We see here that this is almost masculine now looking and identifying not only for this aspect within the self, but trying to see other energy that moves in this modality, almost to see if you can kind of build some points of notes or reference or understanding. So this is positive because this is showing a healing journey. But again, it's not even a moment right now for masculine, because again, this isn't even feminine saying this to masculine in separation right now for the sake of coming back into union. This is like love to its purest intent. If a feminine saying this to a masculine, they're saying, I'm not saying this to you because I think it might fix something. I'm saying this to you because I care about you. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. Masculine's ability right now to experience something that may shake the masculine energy's own confidence, but again, not letting it be reactive, holding stable through it. That is, again, and I have to stress this, if this is energy coming into divine union, this isn't a masculine energy that's pretend. Is like, this is not that moment that we see that this is a masculine that's trying to sugarcoat something. This isn't a masculine that we see is coming into a modality wherein they are like pretending something is okay when it's not. Rather, what we are observing is this is a masculine that is amplifying to feminine. Yes, something that you said to me, it makes some anxieties come up. It makes some difficulty arise. But what we are recognizing is the fact that for a lot of the energy in this modality, this is masculine energy that's basically saying, I can be in two modalities at once. I can be in a moment that I'm feeling sensitive about something, but I can still be stable. Because again, what is the masculine doing in that modality? They're not putting on an artifice between their words and their actions. They are being authentic in their actions and their words. This is the masculine holding a point of stability through amplifying a vulnerability. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this is the ability of this masculine. This is something that the masculine has shown time and again an ability to navigate. The problem here is it feels like a lot of this is coming into very fine refinement right now. And even a lot for masculine right now, that ability to discern what feels like it is in your power to adjust, to navigate and control versus what just needs to be experienced right now is the amplification of some of that intentionality of purpose that we recognized and saw that was being evidenced in masculine trying to heal something right now, but almost recognizing and amplifying prior to the Mercury retrograde and understanding of relinquishing of purpose, relinquishing of the outcome in the process of being able to try to fix something. This is that moment coming to the present right now because it's amplifying, it's giving masculine optics on what feels like it can be navigated and adjusted versus what needs to be accepted. Feminine seeing masculine in this modality right now, that ability to recognize a masculine that has that ability to really discern what feels like it is something that needs to be accepted versus what can be changed is something that you yourself are almost trying to embody. You're taking notes from a masculine moving in this way. It is requiring a little bit of discernment though, because something about the way that masculine navigates this right now, it feels like you don't necessarily have the same access point. It almost feels like there's something being amplified in seeing a masculine move in such a way that we almost see here is almost feeling like a little bit of a frustration point for the feminine, because it's almost feeling to a certain extent that the masculine has something here that feels like it's a little bit easier, as it were, specifically due to the fact that this is a feminine that we've been seeing over the last few days has been trying to amplify to masculine the difference between how the masculine may assume and presume to move versus how the feminine can move, given the fact that these are different energetic frequencies, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, third card in our 5-card spread for today is clarification coming through right now with our Hangman card. Masculine and feminine energy right now, there is something that feels like a little bit of stasis. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It is a moment of observing. Again, what do we observe when we go through moments that recognize that they're not necessarily ideal, but we have to kind of come into a point of acceptance in them? This is that moment of recognizing and understanding what feels like it is a pain point that one feels comfortable in navigating, what feels like it is a bearable pain, what feels like it is a bearable hurdle, versus something that may require some adjustment or modification. And it does feel like a lot of fine-tuning right now, even in the energy of the divine union. It's not that everything is easy here. The only bright side that we're seeing for the energy in the divine union right now is the fact that this is a little bit of set intentional path work that you put yourself on. You did not move towards something because you thought it would be easy. You moved towards something knowing it would be hard, but it is that need and that desire to bring easement that is amplifying masculine and feminine in this modality right now, trying to find that sweet spot, because again, not wanting to be in a point of stasis or stagnancy, wanting to be able to push the envelope, if you will, in terms of expanding your own healing, but trying to find that point that feels like it is bearable to navigate going forward versus what needs to be pulled back upon right now. Remember, that aspect of recognizing the difference between a trigger and intentionality is all in relation to how you feel that you can control it, both internally and externally. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is that moment that is almost requiring a little bit of patience, especially if there is a modality right now where feminine said something that may have rocked masculine to a certain extent, something that the feminine opened up or revealed to masculine coming into that deep and steady vulnerability. It might not necessarily be the easiest thing for masculine to navigate, either because there's something about the timing and finding out something as you're moving into divine union right now that may feel like it's difficult because this is something that feminine was very vulnerable about, or this is masculine energy that is feeling like something that the feminine brought up has triggered them to a certain extent. But what do we see that the masculine energy staying forward and moving continually into the divine union is doing with the feminine? Asking for patience, asking for time. And this is the value of the divine union. This is almost masculine saying to feminine, listen, there's something here that I am navigating. There's something that you've brought forth that is hard to navigate. But this is masculine, again, saying to feminine, if you're moving in that frequency, this is something that I can manage within the self. I just need time. I just need understanding. And this is the masculine feeling to a certain extent, that point of saying, I am here and I'm present and I'm willing to experience that. This is not a hurdle for coming into divine union. Masculine's almost taking this as part and parcel that is accepted, that is required as you continue further into divine union. Feminine seeing a masculine that recognizes that is amplifying a masculine that is truly ready for divine union. Because again, what is this saying? This is not a masculine that's staying in divine union because of it's easy. They're not just there for the perks. They're not just there to like grab all the treats off the table and go walking out the door. This is a masculine that when they say that they want to see the feminine in all of their facets, this is masculine's amplifying, saying, I even want to see the facets that are difficult for me to see. I want to see those as well. When I say that I'm here, this is not just because the masculine is saying that they want to be there with you because they're only signing up for the good parts. This is masculine saying, I want to be here and do the hard work too. I'm here because I'm willing to do the hard homework as well as enjoy the extra credit. Masculine and feminine in separation, what we are seeing right now is this is why we see that this is feminine energy that's almost trying to say to masculine, I make no mistake. I am going to do everything I can right now to accept you in whatever modality you tell me you are. This is not feminine that is trying to say to masculine, I need you to change into someone that you're not. I need you to become someone who like only wants divine union. This is feminine energy saying, I need you to be clear. I need you to be clear to me what you want. I need you to be clear to me as to what it is that you truly seek, because something that you are showing me, something that you are saying does not match that something that you are doing. And this is feminine that is almost saying right now that there's a desire to move forward with masculine if this conversation is happening. But what we are effectively seeing right now is this modality or this moment wherein feminine is saying, the only thing I cannot navigate is a place where what you are saying does not match how you are moving towards me, whether you're prioritizing me, because this is feminine that says the balance and the ratio is off there. This is feminine that is almost saying to masculine, I am willing to do the hard work in accepting you in whatever modality you need to bring forth, but you need to give me the opportunity of knowing what that is so that I can accept and just make the choice on whether and how I can accommodate for it. Because feminine is trying to say to masculine that seeing masculine in that modality of potentially saying one thing and their actions not being in alignment, it creates pain for the feminine. And that pain is one that the pain is becoming too much, because that point of recognizing something that doesn't feel like it's in alignment is the difference between feminine making the conscientious choice to go through something difficult with masculine, to accept the masculine where they are and feel like it is their choice to do so, versus a feminine that feels like they're just experiencing the punishment and not experiencing the reward. Masculine, you may be seeing this right now in a feminine that is asking you to come forward in this way, but that's why we feel for a lot of the masculine in separation. This feels like a little bit of a blockage in the throat chakra, because this is a masculine that feels to a certain extent that there's something here. And this is why we see that a lot of this masculine in separation right now may be turning to other masculine for a point of advice, because masculine is almost feeling the anxiety of a feminine asking for this, but not truly desiring it. Of a masculine feeling the fear and anxiety of a feminine that may be asking for this, but then may just use this to ostracize or persecute the masculine. But what we're seeing here is, again, there's a moment or modality that masculine is kind of recognizing right now where this isn't necessarily feeling like a moment I have to stress, if you're in separation and you feel like you're worried about articulating to feminine what you want for fear that it's going to lead to separation, I think that a lot of the masculine energy is kind of recognizing and realizing right now that this is more of a matter of kind of deciding and determining what feels like it's going to lead to that most productive path forward. Because one of the things that we're effectively seeing here, and this is why we see a lot of the masculine right now, is trying to get this almost like as a point of clarity and advice from other masculine energy right now, is this moment. And again, what I see here that's really kind of beautiful for some of the masculine is this moment of potentially looking to masculine and saying, do you do this? Do you tell your feminine exactly what you want? Do you tell your feminine exactly how you're feeling? This is masculine almost looking to other masculines and being like, is this something that is occurring here? To see and to validate something about this experience. And we see that for some of the masculine energy right now, the answer that's coming through, if you're turning to the right direction, is the masculine energy in that modality being like, of course. Like, of course, like that's that point. Because again, it's not necessarily, this is masculine saying, again, we're not just here for the easy part, we're here for all of it. So we see that for masculine right now, that ability, that discernment is also feeling really important, and it's moving in two different modalities. One, this is masculine in separation that's either recognizing or feeling the amplification of a feminine that is asking masculine to really articulate what their aspiration is. But masculine, you're feeling this anxiety point because it's that moment of feeling like someone's going to hold you to it. Whatever you say here is going to be matched. And that's why we see even now this may be leading to a little bit of a pause point for some of the masculine energy, because this is masculine that's saying, I better be very conscientious on what I say that this is, because what I say that this is going to effectively be the template going forward. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is 2 cards coming out. Beautiful. What did I say about the masculine in separation? This is masculine that is feeling like that need and desire to go forward towards feminine right now, but being very conscientious as it relates to what you are telling the feminine that you want, because it is that point of recognition. Masculine, you are thinking about that moment that what you say is what you will receive. This is a feminine energy that's almost saying to you, tell me what you want so that I can see if I can fulfill that in whatever we have together. Tell me what that is. You need to lead first. You need to tell the feminine what shape that takes. Masculine, we are seeing that even at a moment right now, and this is why we see for some of the masculine energy, this is feeling like an opportunity of profound abundance if you're in some of this modality, because this is that moment of, again, almost feeling the amplification, if in separation and in communication with the feminine like this, that is almost amplifying to you that this is a feminine energy that puts positive emotional and spiritual growth first and foremost. That is the gift that feminine is looking for from masculine. This isn't potentially feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This isn't feminine energy that is looking for the gesture. They're not looking for like the gesture of partnership. They're looking for what a partnership truly is, which is 2 energies that reciprocate, that work together to give each other what they need. So seeing a feminine energy moving in this way has that ability of masculine recognizing the possibilities, but it's almost amplifying to masculine a point and level of discernment if in separation, saying, I have to be very conscientious on what I say that I desire, because this feminine energy is going to match me in whatever I say. In whatever I say. This is a feminine energy that, again, is moving in that point of positivity. And it's almost going to be a moment that the only thing that we don't see is potentially happening is if a masculine articulates something that the feminine doesn't feel is an emotional or spiritual best interest for both parties. That's the only thing the feminine energy is saying no to, which is why we see the feminine energy is operating from a state or space that they're saying the only thing that they can't take from masculine right now is falsehood, in something that doesn't feel like the masculine's words are matching their movement. Feminine and masculine right now coming into divine union. This ability of masculine to put the care, effort, and energy and attention into the divine union and to be able to show up even when it's hard is the divine union. Truly moving deep into the heart of the divine union, because this is when the divine union frequency really starts to harmonize. It's that moment of taking something that feels difficult, and that difficulty doesn't lead to further difficulty. It leads to breakthroughs. It leads to productivity. It is amplifying the fact that the way that we are able to look at something. And when we move into divine union, it's not looking at another energy and asking what we can get from it. It's looking from something and saying, what can I give to it that it will give it back in time? So that moment, that ability of recognizing, this is what masculine is seeing right now, the ability to cultivate an environment wherein feminine feels like it is safe to be open, to be expressive, even when it's hard for the masculine to receive it, is almost putting forward, masculine's putting that energy forward in being able to have that energy match that same frequency when it's masculine's time to do so on the part of the feminine. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency right now, this is something that you're very used to. It's that moment where it's not that point of asking what you need from the other energy. It's almost that moment that is amplified by saying, what can I give you to help things right now? Feminine, if you're seeing that masculine, feeling that lack of confidence, feminine's offering the emotional support. What does feminine need right now? Feminine's feeling that uncertainty, something that is harder for them to do, that they're seeing masculine moving through more effectively on the tangible side. So what's masculine doing for the feminine? Giving that tangible support, that moment of practicality in the masculine being matched by that moment of emotionality on the part of the feminine. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is 2 cards coming out. We've got here beautiful energy, our 6 of Pentacles in combination with our 7 of Swords in its reversal. We love to see these 2 cards in combination because what did I just say? This is the amplification of the benefit of the divine union frequency. The divine union frequency doesn't look at the divine union and say, what can I take from this space? What can I pull out of this pantry? This is divine union energy going in and being like, what can I put in this pantry? What can I put in this space? Because this is like that magical box where anything I put in will get amplified. You put a fish in it, you're going to end up with 20 fish. You're going to put a heart in it, you're going to end up with 20 hearts. You put something bad in it, you might end up with 20 bad things. And that's why we see here for masculine and feminine energy, the discernment, the ability to look at the energy of the divine union and say, I'm going to put in what I want to get out. I'm going to put in what I need that I know I'm going to need at another time. Because there's that moment of saying, it's not the fact that you effectively need something right now. It's that moment of saying, I want to put forward towards something, recognizing that a time will come when I need that back and I know where I've put it. I'm going to put the masculine energy, bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. If the masculine needs some emotional support right now, feminine's like, I'm going to go put some of this emotional support in the masculine, because I know that the day comes when I need that emotional support. Masculine's going to reach back inside of them and give it right back to me. But it's not even just going to be what I gave them. It's going to be in spades. It's going to be more than what I had. It's going to grow in that way. So we see that the energy is right now, not thinking from the approach of what you need, but what you can give forth is what is amplifying the beauty of the divine union, because it's looking to the other, even at a moment that you yourself are in need, and saying, what can I give you? Recognizing that that ability to give amplifies what you receive back in kind. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. This ability that you are recognizing that you are starting to create with yourself right now is why we see that it's being affirmed by not going back to old patterns, not going back to old situations. There could be feeling like there's a bit of a sea change happening for a lot of energy right now in the divine union frequency, because again, it's not the fact that you're seeing something here that may have happened before. You're seeing the fact that what you're getting back in that moment feels like positive karma. Because this isn't a moment where, again, someone is revealing something from the past and it's leading to abandonment. It's leading to breakdowns. It's leading to conflict. It is a moment that is almost saying to the other energy, thank you for sharing that. What can I give you? No, that isn't making me reconsider. What else do you need? That sense of support, that sense of amplification, that sense of saying, there is nothing that you can give me that I do not want to receive, because I realize that you opening and expressing yourself in this way, as long as it is positive, as long as it's coming from a place of expressing the internal self, not from a place of demand or need, but from a place of wanting to give forward, a genuine desire to share, then that is something that is allowing for the amplification and continuation into the divine union, because it's not coming from a place or space of accusation. It's coming from a space or place of offering, and offering as much as one can to the other. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see so much of the feminine right now is saying the hard part to the masculine right now, because this is a feminine energy that's saying, I desire to move forward with you. I desire to build something with you. I desire to see if there is a positive here. I can't have things be the way that they were in the past. The only thing the feminine energy is saying is calling a halt to anything that's creating too much pain. And this is why we see that the feminine is trying to build this alignment, almost allowing this to be a moment of building better alignment with masculine and saying, tell me what you want to give me so I make sure that my ratio in giving it to you is matching. Because the one thing that feminine wants to avoid are situations or circumstances where they overgive to something that is not intending to give back in kind. Masculine, you may be seeing this on the part of a feminine. The problem that we're seeing here, masculine, is there's that anxiety. There's that trigger getting hit. There is that feeling or uncertainty as it relates to a fear of giving forward in something and feeling like the feminine might not be able to match what you're offering. There's potentially a feeling here, masculine, and this is the problem. This is the problem for some of the masculine energy if you're in this modality right now. If this has already led to a point where the feminine feels like there's been some inauthenticity between what you're saying and what you're doing, there might be a shift in terms of what you're telling the feminine right now that may require a point of taking accountability that you haven't been this authentic and expressive in the past. And even now we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, recognizing that to give forth now in that way might amplify past experiences where you weren't ready to, which is again a moment that allows for an opportunity that even now can be clearing, because it can come from a place of recognizing that having a change shows your own ability to grow, because you're taking accountability for your own inability to be as authentic and expressive in the past. So even now, that recognition of a change happening is not necessarily a negative masculine. It's showing how far you've continued forward on your own process of growth and healing, in the fact that you recognize that you're now capable of doing something that you might not necessarily have felt capable of doing in the past. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Wheel of Fortune and our King of Wands in its reversal, in combination with our King of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify. The Star. This is why we see here, this is why the feminine, I have to stress here, this is why the feminine would be perfectly okay in a modality wherein masculine, if you're in a point right now where you need to amplify and articulate that something that you said in the past wasn't necessarily authentic. This is why we see that this feminine energy is in a modality wherein they be willing to receive it, because your ability to be honest to a feminine is what amplifies the feminine's own ability to be honest with you. Feminine energy recognizes that when we meet other energy, honesty is sometimes very hard to navigate. We don't have that sense of trust. We don't have that sense of vulnerability. Feminine knows this all too well. Feminine has to navigate this modality on the daily. Feminine, you can't say to feminine energy, I was not ready to be vulnerable with you, and not expect a feminine to accept and understand that, because that's literally the feminine energy is like part and parcel. Feminine's like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, feminine understands that pathway. And that's why we see that masculine energy in this modality right now, having that ability to observe something that you may have said to the feminine that wasn't correct, having to have that ability to observe that something that you said may have felt like it wasn't coming from a place of genuineness, that you're now able to almost clear the air between you and feminine. It is amplifying that you are not someone who is, this is amplifying your own ability to grow. It's amplifying your own ability to come into stability. It is coming through a blockage and expressing and showing to feminine that you are able and ready, and you have this ability to stand in a point of integrity and stability and having your words match your action. Feminine is almost saying to masculine right now, don't double down on something I'm seeing that I'm telling you does not make sense. Don't double down on something that I'm showing you right now that feels like it is an inaccuracy. Because the only thing that's almost leading to final separation with a lot of this feminine energy is literally saying to masculine, they're showing them the writing on the wall. They're showing them what they see. And their feminine saying, you can't deny the experience of the feminine here and say that that's not the case, masculine, so much as you need to come into a point of understanding and accountability on it. This is why we see this is a feminine that's being authentic, not hoping that the masculine refuses the perception of the feminine, but hoping against hope that this is a masculine that will come forward and be able to see the blockage that feminine is trying to show them between the past self and the present. Feminine, I have to stress, feminine would not be amplifying these blockages to masculine if there wasn't a hope of correcting them. Feminine is not looking for masculine to try to correct feminine's vision. Feminine is not looking for masculine that's trying to deny what the feminine is showing them. Feminine is looking for explanation and accountability and honesty to allow for a productive path forward in whatever shape that is. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is what the masculine energy is giving the feminine that is allowing for divine union to come into formation. This is a masculine that says, I'm doing something that is difficult. I'm experiencing something that is triggering. Something that you're revealing to me is hard to endure, but I am standing firm in it because my ability and my desire to stand by you allows me the ability to do hard things. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency right now, this even now is potentially leading to a moment that is requiring masculine and feminine to do a lot of that discernment, to identify what feels like it can be navigated, what feels like it can be changed versus what just needs to be accepted. Masculine, we're seeing that this is happening in a very tangible way right now, potentially even with other masculine energy right now, potentially even energy that's coming towards masculine by way, of providing clarity in some circumstances that feel like they have been open-ended. Feminine, you are also doing this work right now, both with energy around you right now that you feel like you're trying to address anything that feels like a blockage, while also trying to continue forward in the building that connection with masculine. And what are these energies doing for each other right now? Masculine, offering that point of stability of feminine to be their most authentic expression of self. Feminine, offering masculine their most authentic expression of self, allowing masculine to realize and recognize that this bond that they have between them is not something that is conditional on circumstances. It's just something that is present. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Pentacles and our Hanged Man. Clarification coming through right now with, and this is what we like to see, masculine and feminine energy. There's a lot of masculine energy here. It was here yesterday. We saw a lot of practical work happening right now in the field of masculine energy. And I have to say, even for the energy right now in the divine union frequency, this may be feeling right now, masculine, like you have to deal not just with a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with the part of the feminine, but also having to deal with a lot of other masculine energy coming towards you right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Because this is a moment that we're seeing that a lot of energy is trying to, this is that speed up that we see that often happens after the Mercury retrograde. Because what we're really identifying right now is that feeling of masculine having a lot of external outside obligations pulling on them at a moment that they would rather have a pause point with feminine. This is almost masculine right now, feeling like there's this need and desire to build these points of intimacy with feminine right now, and simply feeling like time does not permit it, time does not allow it. So even now for masculine, feeling that weight of ratio of balance between one's own externalized needs and the desire and need to be kind of in union with feminine may feel like a point that feels like something that a bit of a frustration point right now, because it's almost that balancing of ratios. Feminine, you may be seeing this right now on the part of feeling that there's masculine energy that's got a lot of productivity. They're making a lot of movement right now. This could be very hard for feminine to see right now, because feminine is feeling more of a tangible slowdown right now in some areas that is requiring them to do some work that feels like it is almost, again, it's not necessarily in conjunction with masculine. It feels like separate path work that almost feels like it is somewhat, stretching this connection point between masculine and feminine, even in union right now. So having to navigate that ratio right now may feel somewhat difficult. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. Masculine's ability to accept the vulnerability and truth that feminine is providing them, but not coming into an accusatory modality, not coming into a reactionary modality, coming into a point of accepting and feeling that the success metric is a feminine that is able to open up to masculine in this modality, is the amplification of true divine union taking place, because this is a feminine energy that's basically saying to feminine, I am not just here for you because things are easy. I don't move towards you. I don't stay in divine union. I don't stay in divine union because it's always just good all the time. I don't just come here to steal the snacks. I recognize that being in divine union means that I am here for when it is difficult, as well as when it is hard. And in fact, the moments that it is difficult are the best moments, because those are the moments that we truly can show up and arrive for each other. So we see that for a lot of this energy in this modality right now, masculine's ability to look at feminine, almost revealing things from a point that are difficult, and instead of, again, moving away, pushing through that own point of anxiety and saying, what do I need? What can I show you that I'm here to support you? How can I move closer to you during this time? Because I see that what you're revealing to me is expressing something that is difficult. Is there anything I can do to ease that? Is a moment that we are seeing that feminine is feeling the full implication of moving into divine union. Because again, this is a masculine that's being honest, being authentic, that when they say, I want to see every part of you, feminine is feeling the power of recognizing that they mean it. masculine and feminine coming into, that are in separation right now. This is why we see that feminine is having these difficult conversations with masculine right now. This is why we see that feminine is willing to have these moments right now. And even to the point of feminine recognizing that something that they're saying to the masculine may lead to indefinite separation. Because this is feminine energy that's almost trying to express to masculine, if in separation, I see you more as something that is just like an object of my desire. I see you more as someone who we just have a passionate connection with. This is feminine almost saying to masculine, I can accept you, all parts of you, and I can even accept the fact that the part of you that I met when we first met might be different than the part of you that I'm meeting now. Feminine is realizing and recognizing the adaptability of energy as we move further into an experience. This is why we are seeing that for a lot of the feminine energy right now, this is feminine saying, tell me where you are now. Because what I'm seeing doesn't feel like it's in alignment with what you are saying. And I need that point of clarification to determine how we are to progress going forward. Masculine, you may be feeling this on the part of a feminine right now. And again, it is feeling like a bit of a challenging space because there is that anxiety. If this is a feminine that's asking you for this, that is almost being amplified by the recognition point that saying this may lead to some feminine energy saying, that's not my cup of tea. That's not what I'm invested in. But recognizing that giving feminine energy that choice is the pathway into divine union. You cannot just stumble into divine union. You can't just slip into divine union. You have to move with intentionality. Choice is the watchword. So for a lot of masculine energy right now, this could even be a moment that you're pausing to speak with other masculine energy to try to determine what that path is best to look like going forward. Because for a lot of the masculine energy right now, this observation, this feeling that whatever you say to feminine is effectively what you know you'll get back in kind is almost creating this moment or modality that's making it more of a question about what you want on your own internal journey. This is where this internal journey is coming through, because this is that moment that the connection with the feminine is almost amplifying that deeper question about what the shape of your life is and how you want to proceed forward. Continuing to get clarification, because it is a moment of feeling that when you do move into divine union, there is something of a grounding element there. Continuing to get clarification between our Hangman, our Ace of Cups, and our Knight of Pentacles. One card, please. Clarification coming through right now with transformation. Masculine, you may potentially realize if you're in separation right now and you're having these conversations with the feminine, this is a transformative conversation. There's a shift here. There's a recognition that whatever you say at this time is going to potentially fundamentally change what exists between you and that feminine energy going forward. This is why we see, remember that blockage in the throat chakra? This is why we see a lot of masculine energy right now is being a little reluctant or resistant to open up in this way because it's taking a lot of forethought beforehand. Because this is masculine feeling like this is like a well, and whatever you drop in the well is going to come back out of the well. So masculine energy right now, you're putting a lot of thought and consideration in potentially answering this question because you realize that it's almost going to help, it's going to be the shape. It's going to be the shape of the thing going forward. Like, what shape do you want that vase to look like? Because whatever shape you make it, this is a feminine saying, I'm going to try to fill that shape. So you better be sure you know what you're going to say here in whatever that looks like, because this is feminine that's not saying demanding that shape. They're asking you what that shape is. And recognizing that feminine is going to kind of move into that modality, wants to see if they can meet you there, is almost creating this moment that does feel, it can feel a little frightening. It can feel a little transformational because it's that moment that you're looking at something from a different optics and saying that this isn't something wherein you can kind of like, you know, try to like mold something. I think that that's the important thing right now. The difference between trying to like mold something the way that you want it to be versus a feminine energy saying, what shape do you want this to be? Having that differentiation, recognizing that a good co-creator energy is one that you don't need to mold something around, is something that you intentionally agree upon what shape something is literally the definition as to whether you are on a healing journey or whether you are not masculine, because that's the moment that you're either looking towards the feminine as a co-creator and saying, what shape do we want this to be in? Let's discuss the shape. Versus you trying to like inadvertently mold the shape, like put a little, like push a little hole in it, make a little dent, and then expect the feminine not to notice. The feminine's going to notice. So we see here that for a lot of the masculine energy, even this modality, coming into this modality or this conversation is feeling transformational because it's changing your perspective on things. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this ability to realize that you are going through a process that feels like it is transformational. It's almost feeling like the transformations are coming faster and faster, because what you're recognizing is that divine union is not a stagnant space. It's a very active space. You thought that you were going to come into divine union, everything was going to slow down. No, boy, like, no, you were off. You were potentially off, because you're realizing that the internal transformation that divine union requires is one that you're constantly changing on an internal level at all times. Because again, the energy around you is changing. And it's not the fact that the energy is forcing you to change. It's the fact that you're playing together in this area. So one moves, the other moves. One opens up, the other needs to take a point of accepting and changing and shifting. The landscape is ever changing because you're constantly revealing new facets to oneself. So, and especially coming into divine union, that's at its most amplified, because some of that can start to feel like it's moving very quickly. So a lot of this is almost that feeling right now for masculine. Like there's a lot of transformational energy, even as you're moving into divine union. Even the divine union itself feels like it's changing and transforming very rapidly. And it's that moment that is identifying that intentionality of purpose. Holding ground, if you will, allowing yourself to be present throughout it, even when it's difficult, is what's amplifying your own ability to stay consistent in the frequency, and it's allowing it to grow. Feminine, seeing this on the part of a masculine, seeing a masculine that has this adaptability, has this ability to change, has this ability to like a roll, as it were, with the emotional and spiritual punches of coming to know someone deeper. That ability of a masculine almost being there for it, being like, no, this is why I'm here. This is exactly what I want. This isn't something I need to endure. This is why I showed up. That is also amplifying that sense that you are also going through that transformation, because you are feeling the presence of an energy that truly feels, to a certain extent, like they are invested in the act of co-creation. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now, this modality is something that is resulting in a lot of transformation right now for feminine and masculine. Same as the energy coming into the divine union right now. The problem with this right now is this modality wherein there are some pain points being recognized. But what are the energy in the divine union doing? Divine masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency are paying attention to where those difficulties are, because that's where they're putting their effort. Show me where the cracks are so I can pour the gold in. This is what the masculine and feminine energy are doing in the divine union, and it does require transformation because it's constant. It almost feels like an act of constant repair. But this is repair that is very intentional right now. Continuing clarification between our Ace of Cups, our Knight of Pentacles, Seven of Swords, and our Six of Pentacles. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our King of Swords in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in divine union. This moment and this modality wherein we recognize that we see, even now, there's something about this moment that masculine energy is feeling. I feel like there is something that almost feels like a little bit akin to an exhaustion point here. There is some frustration coming through right now for the masculine energy around some circumstances or situations, because it is that moment of constant balancing right now that almost requires this moment of masculine looking or seeking for some rest. This is a lot of work here. This is a lot of fine-tuning. And it's going to feel like one of those moments right now, masculine, if in your divine union. It's not that you're doing anything right now that's like monumental. It's a lot of this like little work. It's a lot of this fine-tuning, this like this assessment, this giving things energy, trying to figure out what needs it, what doesn't. That in itself does create a space or place for masculine right now that is almost amplifying a need to rest. So we see here for a lot of the feminine energy, seeing a masculine in this modality right now, giving masculine a space to rest right now might be key. Because even masculine having to kind of move in this modality of almost like leaving themselves open in such an emotional way, it does reach a point of exhaustion. There's something that we're seeing here that almost feels akin to a bit like of emotional exhaustion on the part of the masculine right now. Having that ability not necessarily to think about the needs of others right now may be very key for a lot of energy in the divine union frequency, because again, that need or desire to want to connect with the feminine is almost like coming from a need and desire of not necessarily wanting to have to like navigate any of these smaller hurdles, but just kind of hold space with the feminine, as it were. Feminine seeing this right now is, again, that amplification of a masculine that like is really seeking and needing an opportunity to kind of let their guard down. But that guard is almost coming through about like not having to even do a lot of this like emotional juggling, if you will, just being able to come into more of a restive state today. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. Masculine, your ability to navigate this, it does potentially feel much like the energy in the divine union frequency, somewhat exhausting right now. Feminine's anxiety is having a masculine coming into a point where they may change their mind. They may decide that they want something different. And we even see now some of the difficult conversations that energy is potentially having coming into the divine union frequency is potentially feminine feeling that anxiety in terms of giving forth to masculine for fear of not wanting to scare the masculine off by offering too much emotionally. But what we see here with masculine is that amplification point of masculine saying, this isn't something that the masculine's effectively shying away from. If anything, it's validating to the masculine and almost amplifying to masculine the difference between what the feminine may have experienced in the past versus what the masculine is offering in the present. Because in a certain way, masculine's almost seeing that a lot of that anxiety the feminine might be bringing forth right now to them has less to do with their experiences currently together and more to do with past experiences wherein masculine energy wasn't up to that type of work, wasn't up to maintaining divine union energy in that way. And this is why we see, to a certain extent, for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, observing that past situation. Having that optics is almost helping the masculine, helping you understand why the feminine energy may have been more uncertain about revealing these things, because it's amplifying a masculine energy that may have disappointed or let down this feminine in the past that created this abandonment wound in the first place. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine energy opening up to the masculine, potentially even opening up to the masculine about past experiences wherein feminine has experienced in kind. And this is either past experiences with this masculine energy versus experiences in the past wherein feminine felt that a masculine was not standing in their integrity as it relates to what they truly wanted. And this is a feminine energy that is either saying to the masculine right now that they understand that sometimes that is non-intentional and sometimes it is. And in a way, feminine is almost asking this of the masculine right now, because this is feminine saying, do you know what you want? Can you be clear about what you want? Because feminine realizes that regardless of whether this is something that is being unintentionally done or intentionally done, the result is the same. The result comes through in a place or space that if the masculine isn't intentional in what they desire, it leads to separation, because that's a feminine that feels like they cannot trust the masculine. And a feminine that cannot trust a masculine energy cannot be in divine union. Feminine cannot force themselves to trust. Trust is earned, trust is grown, trust is nourished. And this is why we see a lot of the feminine energy. If there's something here that the feminine is feeling and masculine isn't standing in integrity on, they're trying to give masculine the ability to take accountability for it in order to gain back trust. Clarification between our Star card and our Knight of Wands. Judgment, and this is what we're effectively seeing right now. A lot of energy of feminine. There is some judgment that's being directed towards the masculine energy. But what we are identifying right now that's so important is the judgment is a moment of feminine saying to masculine, I don't want to put judgment on this. I don't want my judgment to be the correct judgment. I want to give you the opportunity to explain. If there is a miscommunication, if there is a lack of clarification, if something that the feminine has said to the masculine in separation is not true, this is almost feminine saying to the masculine, please speak now. Tell me now What needs modification so that I can take that into consideration? That is why we see that feminine is doing a lot of this exhaustive work in trying to be as vulnerable and open to masculine as possible right now, for the hope that masculine will bring some insight to something prior to feminine making that determination. And for a lot of the feminine energy, it's that feeling of already having started to make that determination, that feminine is almost trying to hold the door open, if you will. Almost trying to hold the door open for masculine and saying, if I have misread a situation, I am giving you the opportunity to clarify it. And we see that for some of the masculine energy right now, that ability to lend that clarification is allowing for a modification and adjustment as it relates to going forward. For other parts of masculine energy right now, that feeling that feminine has already put judgment on something and you don't feel like there's anything that you feel like you can say. If this is a feminine, I have to say, for some of the masculine energy, this could be a moment that you feel like feminine's kind of hit the nail on the head on something. And if there's something that you feel like there isn't something that you can provide the feminine that you feel might adjust or modify this perception, this might be a moment of separation as opposed to coming forward. So some energy right now, this is going to lead to unification and clarification of goals and a decision going forward. Others, this is going to be that moment that may lead to like a finite separation point, because masculine, you may be deciding right now that this is feminine that is requiring or asking too much of you right now, and that too much might be that level or degree of openness. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is why you are able to maintain divine union, because it is not the fact that you are putting judgment on each other. You are utilizing the act of being co-creators and utilizing this and recognizing that the choice that you're making over and over again is each other. And feminine, and in that modality, what do we see? Feminine being expressive, being able to become more and more vulnerable because they know over and over again they're seeing a masculine that always chooses them. Masculine, this is a feminine that the more and more open they are, even when it is difficult, it is inspiring you. It is passionate. It is allowing you a place of conversation, allowing you a space of productivity. The choice is made. The energy already in divine union, this is the amplification of you both taking your perspectives to allow for a mutual point of decision going forward. And that's where we see that in a way these two energies are helping each other, because feminine is being as open and expressive, their most vulnerable self as possible. And masculine is being their most creative and passionate side as possible. These energies aren't trying to curtail these moments. They're amplifying each other in these modalities. Feminine wants masculine to be even more creative, even more passionate. Masculine wants feminine to be even more vulnerable, even more their truest self. And that, again, is that affirmation of one another that is continually, again, it's in a way, there's a lot of decisions to be made because there's only one decision that you're making all the time, which is always that moment of choosing the other. Clarification between our Knight of Wands and our Death card. May I please have one card to clarify? Two cards coming out to clarify right now. This card may look familiar because we had it out yesterday in its reversal, and our Hierophant. And that is allowing, this is what we see. It's not the fact that we're recognizing that there are some situations and circumstances from the past that are coming back to the surface right now. What is the differentiation in terms of anything from the past coming up to the surface? The ability to take new approaches to it. And one are the approaches, the ability not to feel like one is in a rush in terms of how to take those choices. Because again, for the energy in the divine union, the externalization, the things outside the union, do not take predominance over the energy in the divine union. This is almost why we see, if there's something from the past rising up right now that needs to be addressed, the fact that it isn't eliciting a fast reaction, the fact that it is something that is being taken into account with patience and unconventional approaches is literally amplifying the transformation of the energy experiencing it. Because again, it is the sense of experiencing something from the past, but not having it elicit the same unhealed reaction. That ability to look at something with patience and an ability to take a different approach is amplifying what feels like it is transformative and positive and can be healed versus what needs to be released. Same thing right now for the energy coming into the divine union frequency. That ability to have something from the past potentially rise up, even potentially feminine opening up more to masculine about their past, but almost masculine saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a single change. That is the transformational energy, because it is that moment of feminine feeling like the unconventionality is a masculine saying, there's nothing that you can bring forward right now that is going to break our connection. That in itself is amplifying the uniqueness of the divine union, because it's that moment of amplifying that what the feminine and masculine are choosing. The divine union is choosing each other no matter what. And even now, we see that it's more about what approach you take going forward, which is almost creating that intentionality in terms of reviewing things from the past that may be rising up to decide if you're going to take a different take now that you're in the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, this is that dividing line. And I have to say, for some of the energy right now, this is going to be felt transformative. This is going to be energy in separation, taking new unconventional approaches and coming back into potential union, but coming from a point of clarity, having that point of ascending masculine, leading with telling the feminine what they want, feminine feeling the immediate peace and serenity of masculine opening up in this way, even if it's requiring an unconventional approach. Masculine and feminine, if you're not receiving this, if this is a masculine energy that is refusing to offer this clarity, we see that this could potentially lead to a fundamental ending of a connection. If this is a masculine that, again, is almost amplifying a refusal to tell the feminine what it is that they want, to clarify the difference between how the masculine's moving versus what they're saying, this is potentially a moment that feminine's not going to push that point. Feminine's made it clear what they want. And this is feminine that's almost saying to masculine, you're making it clear to me that you don't want partnership. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Death card in combination with our King of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. We have here our Magician in its reversal. Why is feminine focusing so much on whether the masculine energy is coming through in this way? Why is the feminine being so focused on a masculine standing in their integrity this way? Because this is the dividing line for feminine about the difference between masculine energy that is looking for divine union versus just looking for a companion. What is the difference between divine union and companionate energy? Well, divine union are two people acting as co-creators in the life that they're building together. Two people making the intentional choice, choosing one another and choosing to modify their movement to be able to work together in the act of co-creating. Feminine recognizes simply, either through past experiences, that there's some masculine energy that does not desire a union of that nature. They don't desire a relationship in that formation. Feminine recognizes that there's some masculine energy that would prefer a situation and circumstance, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. That is one, that the masculine is able to do whatever that they want to do, move from a state of autonomy and have an energetic companion that just follows them along for the ride, just effectively is their partner. And that is why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy, articulating and saying to masculine, what do you want? Is feminine saying to masculine right now, do you actually want to be in divine union? Do you actually want to work as co-creators in creating something between us that is actually something that we both have that merged place in, that we both are creating together? Or are you looking for someone that is just going to work as an attaché to your own movement? Are you just looking for someone who's going to be that sidekick energy? Are you just looking for someone who's going to be that person like your right hand? Because this is feminine coming into a modality and saying, I need to know what it is that you seek, so at least I can make the choice and tell you whether I am available to experience it. And this is why we see for a lot of the modality of masculine right now coming into that point of comprehension. Recognizing this is a moment that you yourself may be seeing the way that you were moving prior to this in a different fashion, because something that the feminine is bringing forth to you right now may be giving you some clarity in how the way you've been moving or how what you are determined or an extent may feel to a certain extent like it requires that clarification, because you may be observing that this is effectively a feminine energy that's trying to say to you in some way, shape, or form that this is why they see a disparity between what you are telling them you want, which is potentially a divine union, versus how you are moving. Because again, if you are moving in a way or a state where you are prioritizing your needs and your needs only over the feminine's priorities, then that is a feminine that doesn't necessarily feel so much like they're in a modality wherein you are co-creators, so much as the feminine energy feels like they have to effectively, and this is why we see that the feminine is trying to recalibrate the ratio energetically that they may be giving you in this capacity, that you are almost saying to them, we are not necessarily co-creators. What I'm trying to create with you is not something that we are both equal investors in how we move going forward. I am looking for someone that is going to act more in a companionate role to whatever it is that I want to experience. And this is almost feminine saying, if that's the case, then that is acceptable, because this is feminine not trying to force an energy of masculine into a different modality. But this is feminine says, you need to express that so I know how much to give you. Masculine, you may be moving again, if you're coming into divine union right now, this is potentially navigating situations or circumstances specifically as it relates to feminine that may feel like they are somewhat triggering. Because what we are effectively seeing right now is if feminine, masculine, if you're seeing something that the feminine wasn't as open to you about, and now they're just coming into this point of vulnerability, you may be recognizing and amplifying that the reason that the feminine is telling you that this has created such an abandonment wound in them is because, again, feminine has potentially experienced modalities in the past wherein masculine energy around them took that vulnerability and they didn't desire it for the sake of coming into divine union, but utilized it for the sake of their own advantage. And this is why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy in this modality for masculine right now, that ability to almost show feminine, your own ability to stand in integrity, your own ability not to move away from something when it is difficult, is almost amplifying the fact that you are different, that what you're creating with this feminine energy is different, because this is that moment of masculine. You're saying to feminine, nothing you say to me is going to scare me away. And neither is anything that you say to me something that I will be utilizing to hurt you or to harm you. Masculine and feminine, seeing a modality of masculine in this who understands and recognizes why what you're saying to them isn't something that was potentially, that is showing that witnessing of your transformation, you coming into deeper vulnerability and expression, and also amplifying that they understand the reasons why. They understand why this work is so hard for you to do. They understand the challenges and triggers. Even now, that masculine energy being cognizant and understanding not just the fact that they're on a healing journey, but how a lot of potentially the unhealed masculine energy around them may have led you to be in this modality of not feeling safe to be your most vulnerable, authentic self. We see even that as amplification, that you are continuing forward into divine union, because this masculine energy is amplifying through their own ability to transform with you, that they're not that past energy. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This modality right now is requiring further transformation, and it is leading to some difficult conversations in the divine union frequency right now, because we do see that masculine and feminine are continuing to transform. They're continuing to change. These changes feel like they are difficult, but they're also necessary. And a lot of it for masculine is hard, because something that is happening right now is the presentation of the difference between what is and is not in your power to control, what is and is not in your power to adjust. And that observation point, even for masculine right now, it's hard, because this is that difference in terms of looking at things right now and experiencing an anxiety point, potentially even a lack of confidence coming through on something right now that, again, you want to see that transition point on, but realizing that something outside of the self is it's like the limitation factor even now is further amplifying your own emotional growth, because that point of acceptance is helping you build that discernment as it relates to how you hold that energy within yourself. Feminine energy seeing masculine in this modality too. This is a moment that we're seeing that feminine is also feeling a little bit of this uncertainty, because again, for feminine, the anxiety right now is feeling and seeing the way that masculine moves and recognizing that there's a limitation in the way masculine is able to tackle things. It feels like it is disparate from how you must. And even in that modality right now, it is potentially coming through as a point of frustration, because even while you're not necessarily allowing it to stop you right now, it is requiring some point of modification. It is requiring some point of adjustment. It is a recognition that even with like masculine's best attempts to navigate and help you with things right now, there are some things that feel very uniquely like your path work that is not necessarily something that anyone else can kind of lend full insight on except from you and your own perspective experience. Clarification right now between our Judgment card, our Four of Swords, and our Hierophant in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Wands. One of the benefits that we're seeing right now for the energy in the divine union frequency is this modality wherein we are recognizing that for masculine and feminine in this mode, this ability to ascertain what feels like it can be adjusted, what feels like it can be given unconventional approaches, versus something that you're seeing in the same modality, something that hasn't changed, or something that you feel isn't necessarily something that can be changed at the present, is creating the optics through which allowing you new pathways going forward. This is taking the blockage and utilizing it productively, and even now taking unconventional approaches doing so. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This ability of observing, this ability of recognizing, of being able to open up, to be in a state or space where there are choices made. But again, having that point in the past not being utilized as a point of judgment against you, but allowing this to be a moment of being open to possibilities and allowing this to be a moment of unpacking the past intentionally and recognizing, much like the energy in divine union, what needs to be accepted as the state of being versus what can be changed and modified now that you're in the divine union frequency, is again helping you shape that pathway to the future. It's laying of those plans. It's setting that path ahead. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is exactly why we see that the feminine is almost calling masculine to task right now in terms of identifying what shape they want in terms of partnership going forward. Because this is feminine energy saying, whatever that is, regardless of the shape that it is, masculine needs to at least be clear on what they are seeing, what they are deciding, what they are desiring. Because that's that moment that feminine needs to be given the choice to determine and decide whether they are also invested in being a co-creator towards that perception, or if this is something that the feminine feels is not necessarily for them, and yes, may lead to that point of shifting something and putting some point of stillness there and recognizing that potentially masculine and feminine are on different paths right now. Some of the energy in separation right now, if masculine and feminine aren't giving each other that clarity, this is going to be a moment that we see a lot of breaking away to new possibilities and outcomes, because this is masculine and feminine seeking that clarity from the other. Clarification between our Four of Swords in combination with our Magician in its reversal. One card, please. Clarification, clarity, transparency. What is the thing that's going to bring a lot of... There's some energy here where there's going to be healing brought in, potentially healing from past experiences. And it's starting, again, even if this is masculine energy that may not necessarily have been as forthright in the past, this is the opening that's happening. This is the window that is almost being opened to feminine to say, if you weren't this clear in the past, I'm not going to hold it against you. This is that moment that feminine is almost identifying that they feel like they've seen that lack of clarity, and that's why they're asking. They're giving you an option here to be able to be more clear. And this is almost feminine saying, I don't know if you intentionally moved in this way or if you were intentional in this, but now is the time that you can clear it up. This is why feminine energy is bringing some points of relevance from the past back up, because they're trying to get clarity on it. Masculine, you may be feeling a feminine that is doing this right now and realizing that this is your opportunity to bring some truth to something. But again, the anxiety about the fact that it is feeling like it is a point of exposure or vulnerability is a bit of the challenge space, because I see that blocked throat chakra. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This ability to ascertain what does feel productive, looking at something even now, feminine almost admitting to masculine points and spaces in the past. The reason feminine may have been resistant in opening up to masculine in this capacity was due to potentially energies in the past wherein the feminine had that modality of opening up, and it was either something that was used against the feminine or was masculine that wasn't necessarily being as vulnerable to feminine, either moving away from feminine at a point of vulnerability or utilizing that vulnerability to their advantage, is what the feminine is admitting to masculine right now to offer the clarity as to why it takes feminine so long to open up in this way. Masculine recognizing this is almost building a deeper empathy of the feminine experience, because you're seeing things from the feminine perspective, which is divine union. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this is something that you provide each other. And it is feeling like a little bit of stop-start, and it is feeling like a little bit of nuance, because there is a lot of clarity here that is needed, especially around masculine potentially seeing some result of something that you put into play a few weeks ago coming into fruition that is requiring some of that fine-tuning. Or for feminine right now, trying to figure out how to move right now to address some situations and circumstances from the past that you may have been procrastinating on taking action on, because you're trying to build this clarity of the self within. Final card right now between our Three of Wands and our Moon card in its reversal is Eight of Swords. So today is a little bit of tricky energy, because again, a lot of this is navigating where you are now versus where you want to be. Getting that clarity of optics, though, does feel like it's liberating, because what we really see here is a moment of ascertaining one's own limitations for all of the energies at play. For the energy in the divine union, this is that intentional work. You're pushing up. You've been making the intentional work of finding each other's internal boundaries to see what feels like it is valuable and necessary versus what feels like it can be pushed beyond further for the sake of one's own healing journey. For masculine and feminine, and it is leading to hard conversations, potentially even triggers being reached, boundaries being pushed on, but again, all for the sake of identifying them within the self to get to a better version of clarity and honesty between you going forward. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This observation point, this point of, again, feminine feeling the anxiety of opening up to masculine, masculine almost saying to feminine, there's nothing that you can say to me that would move me away from you, is the amplification of moving deeper into the union frequency, because it's that moment of, again, hitting one's own personal boundaries from the past and almost looking at it instead as unexplored territory. So it's a difference right now between what feels like it was a personal limitation from the past versus someone else saying, no, no, no. This is an unexplored territory. This is what we should push forward on, much like the energy already in the divine union frequency. The energy in separation right now, this is that make or break time. This is that moment. A lot of energy is going to have a breakthrough today. A lot of that energy is going to go into permanent separation potentially, because this is that moment of, again, feminine's offering masculine the possibility of a new beginning. But it's all based on honesty, because that's the difference of feminine looking at something, of masculine giving that clarity, that mutual perception that allows for divine union to form, versus feminine feeling, if masculine's not giving this, that again, masculine doesn't know what they want and they can't see their own limitations. Or worse, this is masculine that's intentionally trying to keep them from the feminine, what it is they truly desire, because they don't want to move as co-creators so much as they're just looking for someone to inhabit a role around the masculine. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now. Everything is about comfort level right now for all energies at play. There's going to be a lot of conversation about what one person feels comfortable with versus what another one does. And one of the things we have to recognize across all energies at play is, like, there's always going to be a little bit of that separation point between one person's sense of comfort and another's. The important thing that we recognize is that there's usually like a Venn diagram there that requires that point of what everyone is comfortable on. The important thing that defines the difference between being in a garden and being in something that feels more like a cage is the fact that there is a mutual choice in terms of what one feels comfortable on versus what one feels forced into. And recognizing and identifying that different is amplification of choice, clarity, and intentionality of purpose for all energies at play. that is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.